Lily! Oh, Lily, where are you, sweetheart?
She's not answering, is she? She always lets me know when she's running late.
Something definitely happened to her.
Okay, don't panic just yet. All right, maybe she's just with, that boy from school.
Is it Lilie?
Dad, come to school immediately. Something's wrong.
This is In Pursuit of the Truth. Today, I'll be talking about a chilling story that unfolded behind the pale walls of St. Andrew's Cathedral School. A young woman was torn from life, brutally and silently. What is the truth lying behind the curtain of this tragedy? If you're ready, shall we begin? For Lilie James and her family living in Sydney, October 25th, 2023 had begun like any other day. After having breakfast together, everyone was preparing for their plans for the rest of the day. Lilie was going to attend her classes at school first. Afterwards, she would proceed to St. Andrew's Cathedral School, where she worked as a part-time sports coach to fulfill her duties. As the family said goodbye for dinner, they were unaware that this farewell would be their last moment together. It was the beginning of a fate they had not yet realized. Although Lilie's life was busy, it was quite ordinary. She was continuing her education in the sports management department, which she had voluntarily chosen. She had an interest in every branch of sports since childhood and possessed an innate talent. Additionally, her passion for dance was immense. Lilie, who impressed everyone with her energy, was working as a dance instructor and sports coach despite her young age, and these were her prominent aspects. Lilie James had started working as a part-time instructor, coaching water polo at St. Andrew's Cathedral School. She loved her job and performed it with great pleasure at every moment. Her energy was reflected in her students and colleagues. Everyone who knew her spoke of how cheerful and fun she was as a person. They said they felt lucky to have someone like her in their lives. Lilie had a very good relationship with her family. She never lied to them and was open about her flirtations and friends. Her family always knew when Lilie would return home. However, on October 25th, 2023, this routine would be disrupted. That day, she went to school as usual, attended her classes, and spent time with her friends during breaks. However, from the moment she stepped into the school, nothing would proceed as she expected. When she entered the gates of St. Andrews, it was almost 7 p.m., and she was walking towards the teacher's room in the school's narrow and deserted corridor. The school, which was usually bustling with activity, resembled an abandoned derelict building at this hour. All students had dispersed to their homes, and no one remained except for a few teachers and staff who had work to do. At that moment, Lilie felt something strange that had happened a few times during the day. It was as if someone was following her. She involuntarily turned her head to look behind her, but saw no one. Thinking that she had been influenced by the news, read or the movies and watched recently, she entered the teacher's room. She had to quickly do her training and make it to dinner, so she left her things and took the necessary materials and quickly walked towards the section where the showers and toilets were in the gym. But Lilie was right to be worried, as shortly after she stepped into the shower, a man entered the locker room with a hammer in his hand.
I didn't want it to be like this, Lilie.
Lilie James had received countless hammer blows to her head and the rest of her body, and she had succumbed right there to the attacker's assault, filled with rage, hatred, and vengeance. About 2 hours after this brutality, Lilie's father received a message from Millie on his phone. Their daughter, whom they hadn't been able to reach for hours, had sent a message to her father saying there was a problem and asking him to come to the school. The father, certain that something had happened to his daughter, hurriedly set out towards the school. At the same time, the police received an unusual report.
The police officer speaking.
I would like to make a report. You need to check the changing room of St. Andrew's Cathedral School. You will find the woman's body there.
Jamie James found her daughter's belongings in the teacher's lounge. While trying to understand where she was, he suddenly encountered arriving police officers in an ambulance. Meanwhile, the teams going directly to the changing room discovered the lifeless body of a woman, as reported in the initial call. The parents were devastated upon receiving the news from the police. The authorities, who examined the camera footage without wasting time, did not take long to notice that shortly after Lilie entered the changing room, a man followed her inside. No one else had entered after that man, and the identity of the man in the footage would be quickly determined. The police, after examining the camera footage, had identified Lilie's killer. The murderer was none other than Paul Thiessen, one of the sports instructors working at this school, and also Lilie's ex-boyfriend, whom she had broken up with a few weeks ago. Lilie and Paul had met at St. Andrew's Cathedral School. Paul, like Lilie, was one of the school's sports instructors and had returned to the school he graduated from in 2020 as a sports coach. This return was welcomed by everyone who knew him, because Paul was one of the school's beloved students, known for his ambitious, determined, and cheerful personality. Carrying the same energy and passion into his professional life, Paul was respected by both his colleagues and students. Paul's interest in Lilie was clearly evident from the very beginning. The communication between the two quickly transformed into a romantic relationship. Lilie and Paul frequently spent time together, enjoying each other's company immensely. While Lilie's family was pleased to see their daughter so happy, they were concerned about her entering into a relationship so quickly. Their relationship had begun about a month ago, and Lilie had decided to end things with Paul. In her opinion, there was no point in prolonging this relationship any further. Therefore, she thought Paul would understand the situation and agree with her. However, their conversation did not go as she expected. Upon hearing Lilie's words, Paul burst into tears and began begging her not to leave him. But Lilie's decision was final. She did not want to prolong it any further. She aimed to explain the situation in appropriate language and conclude the matter without hurting him.
Lilie, please reconsider your decision. I love you very much. Lilie, please stop talking nonsense. I beg you. Turn on your phone so we can talk.
Paul, unable to accept being abandoned, grew increasingly angry as he received no response to his messages. The man who initially begged tearfully had transformed into a threatening monster, driven mad with rage after just 3 days. That night, Paul Thiessen had begun planning what he would do the next day. On October 25, 2023, Paul left home early and headed to Lilie's house with a hammer he had purchased from a hardware store. Hiding in the spot, he waited for the girl to leave her house and then secretly followed her to her school. According to subsequently revealed Cctv footage, after committing the murder, Paul Thiessen calmly walked the streets of Sydney and disposed of the murder weapon, a hammer, along with his personal belongings in a trash bin. 2 hours later, he first sent a message from Lilie's phone to her father, asking him to come to school, then coolly called the police to report a body at St. Andrew's Cathedral School. Among the statements taken by the police, there was also one from Paul's ex-girlfriend. According to what the girl said, Thiessen was an extremely obsessive person and a narcissist with anger management issues. Throughout their relationship, Paul constantly expressed his need for attention, saying he couldn't tolerate even the slightest neglect or indifference. Additionally, he was extremely controlling. The police took action to apprehend him without wasting any time and quickly found his trail. However, unable to face the consequences of his terrible act, he had committed suicide by jumping from a high cliff in Sydney.